Well, hello, everyone. This is Wilson Cole, president of Adams, Evans, and Ross, Backdoor Hires and Recruiting and Staffing Solutions magazine. And I am joined here with our staff attorney for all of the companies, but also with Adams, Evans, and Ross, which is where she and I spend. I spend probably about 75% of my time there, and Samantha spends probably 99% of her time there. And Samantha, we're going to aim this one at recruiters because recruiters sometimes to get a deal done, even during the best of times, but even through this weird transitional period that we're in with COVID, will say incredibly stupid things in an email and not get a contract signed before they start. So I'll kind of give an overview of a hypothetical, but if you don't have a signed contract, you don't have a signed contract. At that point, you just have to show that you're the procuring cause. But if you say stuff in emails that can kind of negate that, you leave yourself and with us or litigating attorneys with very few options.
Well, and also you can almost create a pseudo contract by emails, where if you can show a meeting of the minds. However, that contract will never allow for you to go after attorney's fees, and you can't go more than statutory interest and things along those lines. So you don't truly have a signed contract. But if you have, the bar for those emails to constitute their own contract is insanely high. And then when you start adding in these discussions that you and I are going to discuss, you chip away at its contractual protection.
Yes. And, I remember back probably a couple of years ago, we've said, whenever a client tells you that they're not going to pay you, you need to stop talking, and you don't need to say, well, fine, if you don't feel like you owe me, then don't pay me. You don't owe me a dime. That's kind of stupid. If you were trying to get a deal done on the front side and you were to hypothetically say, you know what, hey, if we don't present anybody that you like their credentials, you don't owe us anything. Those, I understand the intent is you're trying to do risk reversal, and you're basically saying, hey, if we provide all of these guys and we send you just total trash for candidates and you don't hire them, then you don't owe us a fee. The key thing there is if you don't hire them. If you say, hey, if we send over folks and you don't like their resumes, you don't owe us a fee. There's a gray area of what if they hired them. Now, Sam, I'm still going to say the debtor knew what they were doing if something along those lines were to happen. And you could go back to procuring cause. But from a legal standpoint, I'm looking at it from maybe even a little bit of smoke and mirrors and in a collection perspective of extracting a cost. You're basically saying if it goes into the legal arena, different scenario.
Well, and we're having to look at, it goes into this reasonable person standard because you're starting to use these feeling words. If you don't feel, if you don't like. So since we can't determine, since the courts can't go, well, did they actually feel this way? Did they actually not like them? They create this fictional person called the reasonable person.
Okay.
Would a reasonable person like them? Would a reasonable person feel? And if your client says, hey, I need somebody with XYZ background, and you send over somebody that doesn't have XYZ background, then this reasonable person's going to look at it and go, well, maybe they didn't like their background for that position. And that's where you told them that a fee wouldn't be owed. But all of a sudden, they remembered they've got this position over here.
Mm-hmm. And with the client basically saying, hey, if you don't like their resume, then don't pay us.
Did they like the resume? Did they not? Did they not like the resume, but hiring manager over in this department really liked it?
Yeah. You know,
and things along those lines make a really, really dark gray area that it's an uphill battle.
You know, and recruiters could solve themselves a lot of anguish, a lot of problems if they just got a decent contract signed. Now,
And
we
I
have
go
talked.
back to my argument of if you start giving, okay, get a contract signed before you start sending over candidates.
Yes.
Because it's going to be much harder to get one signed after, even though you think it'll be easier. It's kind of like a prenup. It's easier to get before you walk down the aisle than after you're married.
Yeah, somehow or another, and for those that everybody pretty much knows, you know, Sam is one of my daughters. I'm pretty sure that if I went to your mother 30 some odd years after marriage and say, "Hey, I want you to sign this prenup," that would start a whole new argument. But the thing that you want to do is just best practices. And now there are some agreements, and if you want to know what to put into an agreement, look through our other YouTube channels here. You know, there's ones where we, you know, from a collection standpoint, we say arbitration and mediation clauses suck. There's certain things that you want to have in there or don't want to have in there from a collection standpoint, but assuming that your contract is a good collection, you know, sided contract, a signed contract is going to save a lot of these problems, and you're going to find so much more money. You know, I wrote a book, Samuel, on backdoor hires, and it's the top 9 excuses. And one of the things that I noticed about, you know, the third time that I read the book, and it really dawned on me, and I look at the case studies, the ones that we were able to get 100% or more, there was always a signed contract. Rarely will we get, or you get, even if you sue them, get you 100% without a signed contract. Occasionally we do, but if the debtor's trying to hose you over, that's going to be the first thing their attorneys say.
Another thing is avoid feeling words in your contract too. Quality candidates. Yeah. I've got one that I'm working right now that has in the contract that if we don't provide you with 3 quality candidates, a fee is not owed. They hired 5 people.
Yeah, and they're arguing that they wanted high
quality candidates.
Yeah,
just point blank, just 1 + 1 = 2.
Yeah.
Don't try to get fancy.
Yeah, and don't throw qualifiers in there. If you throw qualifiers in there in that contract, it's going to bite you in the ass. And so, you know, it should basically be if we present anyone and they're hired for any position in any capacity, a fee is owed. You start throwing in those qualifiers, and I can assure you the debtor's attorney will jump on it. Sam, any closing arguments before we wrap up this edition of Monday Morning Meeting?
I think that's it.
Outstanding. Guys, if you would like or subscribe to our YouTube channel, you'll get updates whenever Sam and I, typically a couple of times a month, will add to different scenarios. If you should need us, you can reach us at 800-452-5287. Or you can email me personally, wilson@aercollections.com, if you have an issue, and my assistant will get you set up on the books. And everybody have a wonderful Monday, and we'll see you next week.
See you then.